One event that would be important to an astrologer is a planetary conjunction.
Bob McDonald will tell you he is bilingual, speaking English and science.
And I wanted to show you about that by using an orange and some little discs that I have on the table here.
Two astronauts went on a spectacular spacewalk. To talk about what they were trying to do, we're joined by Bob McDonald.
He's been our translator for more than 40 years for all those things that leave us wonderstruck.
I'm sure you're curious too, or you wouldn't be here.
Explaining the quirks and quarks of it all so we can understand science just a little bit better. He has been made an Officer of the Order of Canada.
This thing is heavy. It really feels like the biggest thing that could possibly happen to me.
Picked a tune with an astronaut, even had an asteroid named after him.
You know why I want to get back soon.
Now, he's written a book that flirts with the space-time continuum, a trip through his celestial memory. I met up with Bob McDonald earlier in Toronto.
Bob.
Andrew.
Always nice to have the chance to
Great to talk to you.
You and I have actually had a few chances to talk to each other. And the thing that occurred to me was that so often when we sit down and talk, it's about you explaining other things.
Yeah, like the universe.
Right. but we rarely talk about you. So we've got your book. And the thing that strikes me right out of the gate is the opening dedication, right? So it's to curious minds everywhere.
Yes. I have dedicated this book to young people, say 7 to 14 up, or any young person who is curious about the world, and I find that all people are curious about the world. And that's also the way science works. Science is curiosity-based. You ask a question, why is the sky blue? You do an experiment to find out why and come to a conclusion. So we got to get to the young people as best we can.
What made Bob McDonald a curious person?
Wow. Well, I was like any kid, you know, anybody else curious about the world. But I grew up in the space age. I remember Sputnik, the very first satellite. That's how old I am. The whole space program has happened in my lifetime. But the other thing that got me as a kid was this book. That my mother came home one day with this book called The Planets, Golden Library of Knowledge. And it's an art book. It just has drawings of what the planets might be like. And there was one picture in here that I just fell into, and it's a picture of Jupiter that, it's this one here, and it shows Jupiter from one of its moons. And it says that from that moon, Jupiter would fill a fourth of your sky. A fourth of your, it would be huge.
That's all you'd see.
And I thought, this is a real place. This is a place that I might go someday and see that. And so this book taught me as a kid that the Earth is just one of a whole family of planets, and all the others are really, really different.
And one of the ways that you help people visualize the scope of what we're talking about is the ballpark analogy. Yeah. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, I have a lot of activities, things you can do in the book, and one of them is to build a model of the solar system in a baseball diamond using a grapefruit to represent the sun. You put it at home plate, and then you take some little candy sprinkles that you put on a cake or a muffin to represent the planets.
They're small.
They're tiny, with maybe an M&M or a Smartie to represent Jupiter and Saturn, the big planets. So between home plate and the pitcher's mound would be Mercury and Venus, and then the Earth would be just a little bit beyond the pitcher's mound. Mars is at second base. Jupiter is almost at the wall in the outfield. Like there's a big, big difference out to Jupiter. Saturn, I think, is up in the top tier of the stands. Wow. And then the other planets are actually outside the building.
They're not even.
You got to go like a block or so away. And Pluto is roughly like a kilometer or two away from home plate. So that's just the model of our solar system. The next grapefruit, the next star, would, if you were in Toronto, say, the next star would probably be in Calgary.
Was there a topic in this book that you were just so excited to be able to write about?
Well, I'm always fascinated by what we don't know, the edge of our knowledge. So that includes black holes, because we don't know what happens when you go into a black hole. I'm interested in dark matter and dark energy. They make up 95% of the universe. Dark matter, some stuff that's out there that we can't see, but we know is there. Dark energy that's working against gravity to push the universe apart. They make up 95% of the universe. 95% of the universe. We haven't got a clue what it is. We think we're so smart.
Are there things that still drive you mad because you just can't understand them?
Oh, well, you know, when you get into quantum physics and some of the weird stuff that happens in there, and multiverses, you know, that we're only one of maybe many multidimensional universes and all that, I kind of get lost in there.
There's another part of the book where you talk about people who believe or choose to believe that the world is flat.
Yes.
Right? And to your credit, you don't use the word ignorant anywhere in the book. There was a part of me that wondered if you wanted to.
No, although sometimes they seem to be showing their ignorance because they'll say things that just are not true sometimes. I have difficulty with the difference between science and pseudoscience. There's a lot of pseudoscience out there right now. Conspiracy theorists, or climate deniers, or people, creationists, things like that, that tell me that the science is wrong. And it's because of belief. And science isn't about belief. Science is about gathering evidence. You can believe whatever you like. I have no trouble with faith or things like that. But don't tell me that the science is wrong. They're just two different ways of looking at the universe. Science is self-correcting. Science has made mistakes in the past. We've gotten things wrong. That's why it's a community. Somebody will come along and say, hey, I've improved on that old idea. You know, Isaac Newton told us about the laws of gravity. And it all works perfectly fine, even today. But then Einstein came along and he said, I've got a bigger picture that involves the entire universe. And it's a little different. He didn't say that Newton was wrong, he just improved on it. And that's what science does. It builds on itself and it's self-correcting.
It can feel like we live in this world now of, I mean, there's information, but misinformation, disinformation,
That's right.
Truths, but half-truths, yes. And individual truths, news and fake news. Does some of that just kind of piss you off?
In science, what I advise people to do is that if you're interested in science and you see a website or you see somebody claiming something, go to the source, find out who they are, and very often you'll find that it's usually somebody with a point of view or an opinion, but they haven't actually done the science. So if it's real science, go for that. So that's a challenge, just to find the difference between science and pseudoscience.
But the question was, does it piss you off?
Sometimes. I get really annoyed. I've yelled at televisions when I'm watching some of these conspiracy theory programs, because they'll say something. I'll go, that's not right. That's not right. What you said is not right. But to the layperson, you don't know, because it's so scientific sounding. And it bugs me a lot when I see that, and I want to slap them up. So what are you doing saying that? That's crazy. How do you get away with that? How are you on the air? Yeah, I do get angry sometimes.
That was the first time I've ever heard Bob McDonald say he wants to slap someone. I want to ask you about the end of the book. And I don't think this was an accident or by chance. I think this was probably a deliberate decision on your part to end with a conversation about space garbage, junk that we've thrown up there.
Yes. We're littering space. There are thousands and thousands of bits of old dead satellites that are still in orbit, nuts and bolts and pieces of satellites as they go up, you know, they come apart in pieces. And it's becoming more and more of a problem. In fact, when they're thinking about sending up new satellites, they have to make sure that there's a clear space, because they might run into junk. And in space, things are moving so fast that if you hit something, even something the size of this, if it hits you, it's going at thousands of kilometers an hour, so it has the impact of a grenade on you.
Right.
It can do a lot
They're
of
like
damage.
bullets. I mean, just kind of spinning around, right?
So we have to clean that up, and that's a big issue.
And I guess the real ending of the book was the look back, right, to where we all live, the place that we call home.
You know, Andrew, ever since I was inspired by this book as a kid to understand planets, and I've had the pleasure as a journalist to witness the exploration of the planets by robots. I was there when we went to Mars and Jupiter and Saturn at mission control, going, wow, look, we're seeing these for the first time. It's been really, really exciting. And we found planets going around other stars, thousands of them, but none of them are like the Earth. None of them are like the Earth. They'll all kill you. Mars doesn't have any oxygen. If you go there, you got to wear a spacesuit just to go for a walk on Mars. All the planets will kill you. And the Earth is the only one that we have that you can go outside naked if you like. It's okay, you don't die.
Well, it's mostly okay.
Yeah, okay. But this is it. We haven't found another Earth yet. That's the holy grail in space exploration. We will one day, but it's going to be really far away. We can't get to it. So I've really come to appreciate planet Earth as the crown jewel of the solar system, the Garden of Eden that we live in. It's beautiful. And yeah, the other planets are really neat, but we can't live on them. So let's take care of this one.
Always enlightening, Bob.
Thanks, Andrew. A pleasure.